What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Art Eddie here for another lunch break here at Life of Dad. I got an idea. How about I bring my mic closer so y'all can hear me? And also my co-host, my main man, John Finkel. What's up, sir?
I am excited because I'm doing today's podcast in a van down by the river.
Out of the two of us, I'd say I'm the fatter guy, so I might be a fat guy in a little coat.
Oh, Farley, man, I love him. I hope people enjoy. People who are tuning in, I'm sure, are all familiar with Farley, but I hope there are some diehard Farley fans here joining us to celebrate a little bit on the heels of the Sandman's excellent return to Saturday Night Live on Saturday night.
Yeah, I would say like even the preview with him, with Keenan, Keenan Thompson, right? Yeah. That was great, and it was just like it's so like Sandler. His song about getting fired was fantastic.
Open was so good, yeah.
It was so good. You see Chris Rock, you see Pete Davidson coming in, being like, "You're not fired yet. You will, but don't be fired."
He's like, "You got a couple minutes." That was great.
We got Brandon Kitchens. He's in here. He's saying, "Tommy boy." The whole thing of this is we got inspired by Adam Sandler, the Sandman, about Chris Farley. I mean, our generation, even younger kids, like growing up with like, Surf Ninja, all those different things, like you're going to love those Chris Farley movies. You're going to love the Saturday Night Live skits. I mean, one of my best things is, and also too, let us know where you're watching from and just weigh in on this topic. The thing that I love the most is how he would break, like, not just the special guest, the guest host, but even cast members who are doing this 24/7. Well, I'm just on Saturday Night Live, but like for their show, and they show not break character. I think him and Will Ferrell are the only two that would constantly bring people. I think Farley did it more than Will Ferrell, but like Farley was great at just like cracking everybody up, and you know that they practice stuff all through
over and over and over. Yeah, and he was notorious for like pushing it and pushing the buttons and knowing that when he did the rehearsal, this one thing really got the co-host or the guest host or one of his cast members. So he just jacked it up when it was live. Like, and it was, that famous one, the van down by the river, when Christina Applegate and David Spade are like, they're just dying. Like they can't even do the bit. They're laughing so hard. And he's just a legend. And there's a million skits, the one he did with, Patrick Swayze, and then like all the littler ones that he did that he had moments where he just took over the skit. And like I was thinking about it last night, like because Sandler has that line in the song about they'd be doing Grown Ups 3 together, and it'd be really interesting to see what so I guess Farley was 2 years older than, so he'd be like 51 or 2 right now, I think, Farley. So it'd be interesting to see what a 50-year-old Farley's comedy career, like where he'd be. Would he be? I'm sure he'd be in that crew. They were all best friends. Like, I would love Farley in Grown Ups 3. It'd be amazing.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, I mean, and like.
Or wait a minute, are we just basically canceling Kevin James though? Like, we would basically all of Kevin James's roles would just be taken by Farley, so he wouldn't be in the crew.
Yeah. I also think too, like just Tommy Boy, right? Just like the different things he would mess up, like the different lines, like his father used to say, like, "Oh, I lift my." Head up a cow's butt, or whatever he said, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And then like, I don't feel anything here or here.
Not so much here. Right? Nope. Dude, the funny thing is watching that movie with my kids. So his physical humor translates all age groups, right? Like just everything he does, his movements, his face, like every kid thinks he's funnier than any, and he has funny lines too. It's not like he can't deliver great lines. He's got excellent timing, but. For my kids, the stuff that they laugh at, and they're younger, but when they get older, they'll laugh at more of the stuff that we laughed at. But one of my favorite things that my son just dies at is when Richard Spade picks him up from the airport, and they're having a conversation about how long people go to school, but he drops the whole bag of M&Ms on the dashboard and it all dumps in. Like, it's a throwaway funny thing, and he's like, your brain's got the hard candy shell on it. Like, he can't go back. But for my kids, the moment he drops the M&Ms in there, is the funniest thing of all time. Like, that's just, there's nothing could be funnier than him doing that. And then the line you said earlier, like, fat guy, little coat. I mean, it's so good.
Or like when
Richard.
Yeah, or like when he's like, I was trying to call you. Well, what was the number?
Yeah.
Something niner. There's a niner. Are you talking from a walkie-talkie? Like,
Oh, the best line in that movie too, because like the kids don't know these jokes. When he first takes over in the office there, and he's like, "I got a problem here." He's like, "This is going to Columbus, and that looks like it's pretty far to South Carolina." He's like, "Here's a map." He's like, "This is Columbus, Ohio." He's like, "Go back to school for another 7 years." It's so good, and like, God, man, it's a shame that he's not around. And those movies are just the beauty of those movies. I think is that they're not heavy pop culture references, so the humor translates. Age group, you've got the physical humor, Three Stooges type slapstick stuff, all the way to the kind of the sarcasm and all the kind of cool stuff that David Spade does. And then you've got the general, like, he's just a lovable guy. And all his movies were, I'm sure he would have gone whatever, dark and whatever, but he did, did that. He did Black Sheep was great. Like, Black Sheep was so good. And Beverly Hills Ninja, there's no reason to pretend it's a fantastic movie, but if you're 10 years old or 8 years old, it's a really, really funny movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so many great things. People are saying, Tina's saying Lunch Lady.
Oh, dude. Lunch Lady.
Our boy Adrian over at Dad or Alive said, after working with Adam, almost forgot the 9 years at Happy Madison. I heard some of the most funny and heartfelt stories about Chris.
Oh, yeah, we should have had him on today. He knew those guys.
Yeah. Adrian, get on right now. Let's go.
Yeah, jump in.
We've got Sean Kingbird saying, "What up, guys? Love Farley." Van down by the river is what Megan's saying right there. Tommy Callahan.
I don't know how it works politically correct now with it, but their original when Schmidt's Gay aired with the beer and the pool, all the guys around the pool, and now it's so 90s now because of all the pinks and the big shirts and the guys coming out, and I think it's still allowed to be funny now, but like that was one of the first sort of at the time, however viral could be. Like it was, I remember having it on a tape, like an actual cassette tape of like Sandler. Remember they used to sell those like greatest hits for each of the guys, and it was on. I think it must have been on Sandler's. Maybe it was on Farley's. I don't know, but like, God, when they were like, whoa, it was so good.
It was just great, and like having him, like someone mentioned Black Sheep. Just all of the different movies that I know you mentioned it too. Like, just there were certain things where like it's almost like he could be the only one delivering it to make it funny, to make it not like he. I mean, there are some comedians and some actors that when they go over the top, you're like, all right, they're going over the top.
Yeah,
that dude was just like always
electric.
Over the top, but he did it in like each way. I know it sounds really weird, but each way he did over the top was different, and it worked for that role.
Yeah, it was electric. Like think about the same comedy mind can do like the Bears, right? The Bears skits with Ditka and the whole thing, right? Yeah, he's having the heart attack.
Just had a heart attack.
Yeah, like that whole thing, right? And then he can do like the very subtle, like Tommy, you want wingy, like the very like subtle things in Tommy Boy that he does, and then the absurdly loud like Chippendales dance with Swayze, where he's just off the charts dancing and doing all that stuff, and. I always forget the name. What was the talk show he did where he was terrible at asking the question?
It was the Chris Farley show.
Yeah, it was a Chris Farley show, right? And he'd be like, remember, like he was so vulnerable for all his bits, but then he could also take over a skit or a room or an event like no one else. He was just all energy.
Hey, John, do you remember when you were in the Beatles? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. Or when he'd go, hey, he always have the cards, and he'd be like, he's like, forget. Hey, remember the time he scored all the game-winning shot in that game? Yeah, that was awesome. It was awesome. It was awesome. He was so great, and just.
And then he'd say something, and like I think even what was it like Paul McCartney's like, "Hey man, you're doing all right." Because I just suck. Yeah. He's like, "No, you're good. You're good." He's like, "Oh really?" He's like, "Paul McCartney."
Yeah. Oh no, he had it, man. He like a guy like Farley would have been, I think, the biggest name. I mean, he was as big as he was, but with social media, like anything he did. Imagine. I mean, I know he did a lot of, adult stuff on his time, and that was what ended up, being his demise. But every event he went to, backstage, all that stuff. If there was a Chris Farley feed, if he was doing, if he was on Twitter or Instagram and doing live feeds. Brushing his teeth, like anything he did, he would have 50 million followers nonstop.
Yeah. I love this right too. Like Brandon's like, Richard, who's your favorite little rascal? Is it
Oh,
Alfalfa or Spanky?
what was your favorite baseball team? The Yankees, dude. Oh man, in Spade. I remember Spade saying, and if Adrian is still watching, he might remember. But Spade said like he could, like some of those guys like couldn't bring themselves even to go to his funeral. Like they were so just demolished that he wasn't there anymore. Almost like a beyond a family member, like an entire presence for a generation. I remember hearing an interview with Spade. He's like, I couldn't bring myself to acknowledge that he wasn't here. He was like life, larger than life, and I think it's kind of fitting, I guess, that all these years have passed. I mean, Sandler could have written a song at any time, and he's having like a Sandler resurgence, which is annoying to me because like, that's like the Patriots like still here. Like he's been making really funny stuff like on Netflix. He's never not, he's had some misses, I guess, at the box office a little bit, but like, I mean, he's had some really good movies on Netflix that have been really funny, and some of his movies in the theater have still been. I'm still automatic. Like, I have a lifetime pass. If Sandler has a movie in the theater, I go, and it's always awesome. And so he's kind of all of a sudden people are remembering. I remember when the Netflix special came out, all the comments were like, "Wow, I didn't know Sandler could be funny. I thought he just made." And it's like, wait a minute. This guy was like, from the prank calls, they're all gonna laugh at you, from his CD, like all the way through. He was like the through line of a lot of these guys from Saturday Night Live, and I don't know, man. I just think it's awesome that he's getting his day back in the sun, and that he took that spotlight and brought it back to Farley.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I love what Mario's saying. Is like, is it weird that I like the cameos the best? Like, I loved him in Billy Madison. Also, when my kids fall down, we call it the Farley roll, arms out, and lots of No, that's again with him. Like, you could like anything, and people would be like, yeah, I could see why, right? Like, they would understand. Like, this could be like a seriously barbershop debate on like what is the best character or movie, or just like you said, cameo with Chris Farley, man. So I totally agree with that.
And he knew how to play off. He had that timing where like he let, especially in the movies like Tommy Boy, where Spade played such a low key kind of sarcastic. He played what he always did, but like he let that breathe. Like a guy like him in the wrong hands with his energy could have very easily just suffocated, like stolen all the oxygen out of a scene or out of a room. But like he gave Richard the laughs. Like he was okay with being almost like unpurposely embarrassed in character for how it was going, and that's why I think it all worked. And it just, I don't know. Hopefully somebody maybe somewhere is writing a long think piece on like what Chris Farley would be up to today.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Mario says, can't forget the Chippendales sketch with Swayze. That, I mean, to go with Swayze with the how he was physically fit and all that stuff, and then him go there and just own that scene, right?
Oh, dude, the cummerbund's like popping off his body. He's bouncing all over the place, and the thing that's funny is I think he was only like 5'7" or 5'8" or 5'9". Like he wasn't like 6'3" and a giant guy. Like he just took up so much more space than it actually felt like he did. And I remember, his size was part of his bit, right? And like it was just, it was awesome, man. He was a force, a comedic force, and I miss him. Like I'll think sometimes, like in a movie, like God, Farley would have just destroyed that role. He would have been absolutely perfect in it. And who knows? I mean, comedies are weird now anyway, but I would have loved to see where his career went. And I think as we get older and our kids get older, like to have kids that are Farley fans, because his idol is Jim Belushi, and Belushi, when our kids are going to get into animal, like they have to be older to really appreciate his stuff. But my kids are 6 and 8, and like Tommy Boy is a movie for them. It's a legitimate like, oh, let's watch Tommy Boy type of thing, and that to me that's awesome.
And it's like you mentioned Belushi, like that was his idol. I mean, he followed, like step for step almost, right? Like, you look at incarnations of characters and you see certain things like. I think our generation maybe really, has not had a big interest in the show Taxi, right?
Yeah.
But if you watch Christopher Lloyd's character in Taxi, you're like, that's the original Kramer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, Taxi, yeah.
But they did it in such a different way where, you can see the mannerisms. But just for man, it's scary to see just like, it was his idol. Farley had Belushi as his idol, and he just went He went full like.
Well, Sandler has the line in the song saying like they all told him to slow down or he's going to end up like Belushi, and the line is they said it. Everybody. It's not like no one was talking about it, and he was like, "That's fine. That's what I'm after." And it sucks. I remember I had a really weird thing. I remember going into we had Thanksgiving one year. We got invited to one when I lived in LA. I don't remember the circumstances, but we ended up going to like a Chateau Marmont like Thanksgiving with like a bunch of friends who were all like transplants, and that was where he passed away. And somebody was like, we just passed the room at Chris Farley. And I was like, whoa, well, that's a little scary. So anyway.
Kingbert says Gary Busey and Farley's fight scene is the best. Spade wets his pants. Kelly Clark goes, Ditka sausage, nice. And one of the guys here at Life of Dead, Dan Lazar, says, Tommy Boy, love how he represents his alma mater by wearing the Marquette rugby jacket in the beginning of the film.
A lot of people go to school for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors. So many lies, dude. So many great lies.
So many great things. Join us Wednesday. We'll be doing another show. But tomorrow, this book right here, we've been talking about it. We even have people say, like, plug at the end of the show because we were doing it. The book comes out tomorrow. You can still pre-order Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. Tomorrow it'll be in stores. If you do purchase it, feel free to take a picture of it.
Yes.
Send it to John or I, Art Eddie3 on Twitter, John_Finkel, or just share it on Life of Dad Show on Twitter. We'd love to see the support. We appreciate it. A lot of great advice from dads in here. You should check it out. But again, we hope you guys had a great time reminiscing about our boy Chris Farley. Thanks again for Adrian for kind of giving some inside information since he worked for Adam Sandler's Happy Madison company. But for John and myself, thanks again for sweet. He even helps us out again. Thanks, Adrian. We will do that right after the show. I'm going to put the link where you can order it. Again, thanks for. Do you want to add something? I don't want to.
Oh, I was going to say no. For since the topic is comedy, we have Jim Gaffigan in the book. Bill Engvall's in the book. Like a lot of the topics that we talk about on the show, there's a good representation of the people, whether sports or business or comedy or whatever, in the book. So in addition to all, we've always mentioned the athletes and Shaq and Michael Strahan and John Elway and all these guys in there. We do have a lot of actors. We had Stephen Amell from Arrow in there, but we do have a good number of comedians that are in the book that talk about dealing with fatherhood, dealing with being on the road, also being funny, teaching kids fun. I think a couple of the people said how important it is for teaching sense of humor to their kids and teaching humility to their kids. So hopefully, as you're watching these shows, you kind of get a sense of where our sensibility is. And there's 120 plus dads in there. And if you're tuning in for the first time because you like Farley, there are comedians in the book you can get a little tip on fatherhood about for. So yes, please. Tomorrow's a huge day. Today's a huge day. Not only Art's birthday, so happy birthday all over the place, but also the book. So go out, get it. And if you pre-ordered it and it comes in the mail, we'd love to see a picture of you with the books. Like Art said, send it to both of us. Pin it to Life of Dad. We're pumped. So thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, and as always, thanks for the support. We love you guys. We'll see you on Wednesday. Peace.